Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Big Bala Brands podcast. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in from wherever you are in the world. If you're new to this channel, thank you guys so much for being here. We always love having new listeners. And if you're a returning listener, thank you again for coming back every week. So, I wanted to start out by saying, have you ever had moments in life where you just questioned something and you really were like, is this really the way it is? Does this really make sense? Is this sequence of how this is happening based on society, culture? Is this just what people expect to happen? And I say this because this is in part due to, let's say, when you're choosing career or you're going to school or your romantic life. Growing up, we are typically expected to go through this sequence. This is how life works: is you grow up, you go to high school, you go to college, you get your degree, you find the love of your life, you get that job, you're in your career for the next 20, 30, 40 years, get the mortgage, get the house, and then you just settle down and that's it. But is this really the way it's supposed to happen? Is that everybody's path? Is this what's going to make people happy? Or is just a societal, cultural expectation, norm of sequences that we just kind of fall into? And I had this thought the other day because I was like, hold it. It's life is not linear. So how is it that this is just supposed to happen freely without any obstacles, issues, problems, and that we're gonna just go get our degree, we're gonna get that good, decent paying job, and we're gonna fall in love right away after that, and have the career and the house and the family and the kids and everything just set up, right? That's kind of just, it's almost like it happened in one generation, and then everyone thought maybe this is just the way it's supposed to be. But then when that doesn't happen, it becomes a big question mark. Hey, something's maybe not clicking here. Is something wrong? Why isn't this happening? And so many people talk about, oh, men who are lonely in their 30s or 40s, they're not having kids and families. And now women are out there being leaders and bosses and CEOs, and that changes everything. But it's okay. I get that. But isn't that part of life, that not everything's going to follow sequentially? That life is not necessarily linear across the table for everybody. Some people go into the corporate world 9 to 5. They find their thing, their purpose. They find what makes them happy in a career and a job that's fulfilling. And there's, like, you could say, set for life. But then there's people who just don't go through that. There's people who go to college, drop out, they realize it's not for them, or they want to go and learn a specific trade. There's those who don't necessarily find the love of their life from the get-go, right? You can have no relationship for years, or you can go into different relationships and each one teaches you something, right? So it's, hold it. I've gone through this in my life where I'm like, I kind of question that, is this really just how it's supposed to be? Like, there's no other way of doing life. There's no other way, like, hey, if I don't have interest in school at all, or maybe I don't like this career as much as I thought, or hey, I may not find the love of my life, my romantic partner, my life partner right after college. It may come down, it may come up down the road. I may find them in the most unexpected way by just traveling and doing life my way or whatever. And the same applies again, like all this applies to the idea when it comes to our emotional health, our mental health, our financial health. Am I supposed to just be content with making X amount of dollars per year and that's it? Because not everybody is. Not everyone is just happy, just, okay, this is what we want to do, or this is what we're supposed to do, and that's it. So it's like when we're going through these things in life, we question them. And I think that's a totally normal thing to do, which is to question how life is expected to be and create a different path, or go a different way, find a different road, try something differently. Because What works for one person doesn't work for everybody. But then when you go through this questioning, this curiosity too, what you're also doing is you're expanding yourself. You're opening curiosity to exploring, to trying something new, to say maybe there's another way to do this. Maybe this is not necessarily the way it's going to happen for me. I had friends that I met during my college years, and some of them didn't graduate. They dropped out. They went on to learn skills and just jumped into the workforce. I know plenty of people who have been through different relationships and they haven't panned out. People who've probably been married and that didn't work out. Because you can't think that life is just so simple and you follow that same pattern, that same route that most others did and think it's just going to work perfectly. It doesn't do that. Life just doesn't work perfectly like that. So again, this thought to me came up recently in the conversation. I was thinking it's a healthy thing to have the curiosity and to question it. And it's not like you're trying to rebel against the world, rebel against the normal thing that everyone expects of us, or what society or our cultures or whatever it might be. But have a healthy curiosity and question the why. Question, is this it? Is there something more? Can I explore something differently in my life, right? I don't necessarily fit into all this like everyone else does. So maybe there's something more for me to explore. And over time, it becomes a journey of self-discovery. Because some may love being in a job for the next 40 years. Others will be like, are you kidding me? You want me to do this for 40 years? Are you out of your mind? Someone might say, "Oh, cool! I can make 80,000 a year and got the whole package and great, and like my job, and there's ways for me to work up." And others may be like, "All I'm gonna make is 80,000 a year. That's all I'm worth to you." And then you may have some who are like, "I'm expected to just find my life partner and settle down, and that's it." Where's the excitement? Is she gonna want the same thing? How is that gonna align? And you know what? For both men and women, that changes. Society has changed so much in so many decades that it's not the way it used to be. So I think it's just a natural evolution that we go through where what was once maybe normal is suddenly shifted. It's changed. It's not what it was. There's a different world we live in. This, and again, those curiosities, those things that we generally are like, this can't be it anymore. Let's try a new way of doing life. Creates new experiences, creates just a whole new, again, version of life for you. And again, for everyone's journeys, for everyone's stories, for everyone's path, it is not always the same, right? Some people probably found that love right away, probably found that thing right away early on. Other people, it's a little later in life. It's different. And you can't compare one to the other because we live in a different time. Where we were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago is not where we are now. So I think it's a very critical thing for everyone to just, if you have that natural curiosity, to just question it, to explore it more, and to really wonder. I went through this in my own life too, in my world, when it comes to exploring the idea of growing wealth for myself and having more abundance and not necessarily falling into the everyday 9 to 5 scenario and all that, and thinking it, this is to say this is BS, right? It's BS. This can't be it. There's got to be more to this. I'm not seeing how this is just how life is going to be. And I don't know, maybe this makes sense to a lot of people. Maybe to some, you've been wondering the same thing. Maybe you just think I'm completely full of crap. Then I just want you to sit with it for a moment. Like when we go through, again, I use the word journey, self development, growth in our life, and we just kind of get to that point where we're just like, we start to question it. We start to see other people's lives around us and really question, is that really how it is? Are you telling me that if I followed these exact steps, then I would have everything? And this is what life has for me, and that's it. This is it. And I'm like, I feel like there's more. And I also feel like in my age now, coming up on 37, my life hasn't been linear. And here's the best example I can maybe share with you guys. For all of you out there who have ever gone to an interview, when you're applying for a job and they bring you in for an interview, or submitted an application online and they always want your work history, right? But the work history, the application is almost treated, yeah, I had just job. Like you notice every line is the same. When did you start? When did you end? What was your position in the company, the salary, et cetera, et cetera? What were your skills and qualifications? My resume is not exactly like that. My work history is not exactly like that. And so I want you daughters to realize and pay attention to that, because it's like work in general, it just expects it to be so 1, 2, 3. I was here for X amount of years, I made this much. And when I've walked into interviews and I bring my resume and they look at it, and one of my jobs on there was working the Super Bowl, they're kind of look at it, questioning, look, the paper can tell you a version of the story. That piece of paper can do that. But I really need to explain to you what my work has been, because it's not like everyone else. And I think there's a lot of people in the world who go through that. It's not just that simple, right? But most people on the other side of that table look at it that way. Or they're just like, can you explain the gaps? Can you explain what you did? Can you explain this? And it's not even just work experience, it's so many other elements. What if you were going to sit down and you're applying to, say, you're applying to meet that person you have a crush on, the romantic interest, and they're asking you, so what has your history of dating been like? It hasn't exactly been legit normal. It's not, just completely self-explanatory. There's stories behind it, right? And everyone has that. How many times have you been in social groups, on social media, whatever? Everyone has a story about maybe how they got the job or how they met that person. It's never all the same necessarily. It's always different. So again, the point to this whole idea that I had, this whole moment of, I found myself getting to those times in my life where I questioned it. And I'm like, I have said this before on I think in an episode or on social media. I'm 37. I don't own a home. I rent. My work has not been exactly typical. And yeah, as far as relationships goes, that's a whole nother story. But it's like, it's not been what everyone else's story has. But it's also because for me in my life, and I'm sure for many of you out there, it's maybe my parents, someone else's parents went through that exact sequence of, hey, yeah, they met when they were in high school and they've been together since then. They've been together for 30 years. Versus for others, it's, I met mine in work, or I met mine when I got to my third job or something, or I met her while I was on a plane or in another country or by accident. There's no sequence to life that's completely straightforward. And I think it's perfectly fine when that's the case for anybody. You can't compare yourself to where someone else has been and you haven't. Everyone's lives are different. Some want the sequence to just work this way. Others just go with whatever comes. And that's just how life happens naturally. It unfolds. Even life is not going to say, hey, once you graduate, you're going to just fall into this. It doesn't work that way. So have the natural curiosity. Question things because it does bring clarity. And sometimes that clarity opens more doors where you're just thinking somewhat very differently. And also thinking this can't just be the way life is. And it may happen soon for you, it may not happen right away, it can happen later in life, and that's totally normal. Some people get very fixated on timelines. Like it has to be this way because when you do that, also you're putting such an expectation on it, right? And when that expectation isn't met, it's really disappointing. People will think, oh my God, I'm going into my 30s now. I'm so old. I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60. You ain't dead yet, though. You ain't dead yet, right? You're not old and crippled and sitting in a wheelchair in a hospice. Okay, someone's 20, 25, 30, 40, and 50. Like, it's a number. It's like a number on the screen of your computer for your bank account. It's a number. Why should that number dictate so much of your life? Some people's lives are way better in their 30s than they were in their 20s. Other people experience so much more amazing life experiences in their 40s. Other people, for them, their 50s are just celebratory. So, anyways, question things. Don't expect life to just be sequential 1, 2, 3 across the board. It's different all the time. And just like naturally let it unfold as it's going to. If you are not where other people are, that is because that is not your path. That is not your story. Yours is different. And that is also a blessing because that's what life, that's what God, the universe, whatever you believe in, that's what it wants for you. You're unique. So is your story, so is your life. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in for yourself, giving yourself time to listen to something different. And like my channel, subscribe, catch me back every week. I'm always here. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Happy 4th of July weekend, and take care.